Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, Gary's truck looks a little more complete. Needs a bath. It's got some fingerprints on it from us working on it, adjusting the panels and stuff. However, we're not going to wash it up yet because we're going to be putting it outside here. We have another project coming in here that needs to be worked on. So it's going to go sit outside, so it's just going to get filthy again until he comes to pick it up. However, as you can see, the truck is whole and it's all back together, and short of some molding here and a wheel well trim here, it doesn't really look like we changed too much, does it? No, that was the plan. So I'm going to go over this truck with you, show you what we ended up doing with everything, and show you any problems we ran into along the way. But so far so good. Didn't take a whole lot of time to get this put back together. I know we didn't have a whole lot of in-depth videos on this truck. However, been under a time crunch lately trying to get a bunch of stuff done here, and only have a little bit of time to do it. So trying to get everything done, but one thing I do want to make note of is we never took this bumper off. This bumper is untouched. So we didn't move it, we didn't take it off, we didn't adjust it. So this is where this bumper sat, and it sits almost exactly the same as it did before. And you know, we are using the S&B body kit on this truck, so we ended up having to shim the core support up a little bit. We used one thicker shim on each side, and to get the cab level, we used a thick shim in the front corner. So that's not too bad, considering we took about 8 or 9 shims out of the cab completely that were original from Ford. I think there was 3 in the back on each side, and then I think there was 2 on this front corner. However, the S&B bushings do fit really well, and I can show you how well it lines up with the bed. So there is no shims in the back of this cab, so keep that in mind whenever I show that to you. But we'll go ahead, we'll go over this and show you some stuff that we did here. One of the things that most people don't notice is the windshield trim here. All right, so there is windshield trim on here, and Gary wanted to do a little bit different here, and he took his factory bright aluminum trim, so it's polished aluminum that's anodized. He had it stripped, he stripped it, and then he powder coated it black, trying to give a little bit of a different look to the truck, something to make it not stand out so much. You know, he also powder coated the wiper arms here, so those look nice and fresh and new. But so this is something different you don't see too often, and this is mainly Knights, Lightnings, and later model Broncos had the black windshield trim. So this is something that's a little bit unusual for a truck of this size, you know, an F350. But same doors went back on. We went ahead and color matched the bottom of the fender to match the rest of the truck, because he is going to have this truck painted eventually, just not right this second, and wanted to make it at least look halfway decent. That way it didn't come out looking like a clown truck or a multi-purpose, multicolored vehicle. You know, he wants it to be at least halfway presentable. So this is original paint fender. The other fender was repainted at some point. We don't know who did it, but it is an OEM fender. It doesn't quite match the truck, so he's going to paint that in the spring to match the rest of the truck. At least it'll be something, because it's kind of got like a yellow hue to it, which is not very good. But that's the only issue with the body here. However, we have all the doors installed, the fenders are installed, the whole front end is installed, everything's put in inside except for the seats and the overhead console, which he's not sure if he's going to put it back in or not yet. But I'm going to go ahead and show you what we did here and go through some little things. We didn't really run into too many problems with this truck, which is great. We ended up having to re-shim the grill on the bottom here. The header panel was broken, so we went ahead and fixed that. And we ended up having to address some sockets on the other side for the lights. They weren't making a real good connection. If you wiggled the bulb around, it would lose connection. So we ended up fixing that too. But other than that, very good project. Not really problematic. He had everything we needed. Gave him a list of stuff to get, so it's been great. But let's get on to showing you what we did. As you can see, we have some pretty good fitment here of the panels. Here's this terrible yellowy fender that's got to go. But He also, we don't have an antenna right now. He has the antenna. He's going to powder coat it black. He also did the cap in black just to kind of match the windshield trim and the wiper arm. So everything above the mirrors here is black, and then everything obviously below the mirrors is chrome. So we're still going to run the trim down here and the mirrors, and then obviously the nice polished aluminum Alcoas. And then we have the chrome up here, the brushed aluminum billet grille here, and the chrome bumper. Now I had said we were going to replace these core support mounts here. As you can see, they are nice and new. So these are reproductions, and they do work really well. They lined up pretty good. Don't really have anything bad to say about them. He got these ones from Bronco Graveyard, which is where I get a lot of stuff for these trucks as far as bracketry goes. He seems to have a lot of it, so that's nice. This is why we changed them. As you can see, there is not much left of that. There's supposed to be a hex in there, and well, there's not much of anything. So that's why we ended up replacing these. As you can see, it was beating around in there. You can see the lip over it. However, we got everything installed here, and the inner fender's back in. Went ahead and cleaned the studs for the fuse box, and we ended up getting the vacuum bank put back together. We were able to reuse those studs, which is great, and liberal amounts of anti-seize on those because, as you can see, they are right in the spray pattern of the wheel. So we make sure we get those really, really well. Coming around here, new hinges front and rear. We went over this in another video. We were running the aftermarket hinges in the front. Got the whole interior put back together here, minus obviously the radio. He has to get a new radio for in here and a rear view mirror. Gauges are installed here. Got these all hooked back up. Went ahead and did the dual visors up here. As you can see, they work really, really well. And we hid all of the wiring so that you can't see it. We have a recovered headliner in here as well. And the guy that does that local for me, he does a really, really good job on these. So this is about the third or fourth one he's done for me now. We have the back in here. And I did not choose the color for the carpet. If anybody's wondering why it's a strange color. Apparently this is all he could find. I did not purchase the carpet. I did not look myself. This is just what he came with. So that is his doing, not mine. But anyway, we have the whole back of the interior put in, and we went ahead with a solid glass on the back. His gripe with the slider was he is way too far away to use the slider. So he wanted to go to the solid glass, and I really don't blame him. The slider is almost useless in a crew cab because you can't reach it that easily. And then we were also running the hinges back here that we make in-house. So we go ahead and put those on this truck as well. As you can see, these work really, really nice. And we have a couple hours in fitting everything. Doors shut really, really nice. Gaps are all really, really good. So we'll come around to the other side here. And same thing over here. We're running the aftermarket front hinges. They lined up pretty decently. And this is the wiring for the overhead console. Now, he doesn't know if he's going to reuse this console or not. It would be up here in this general area. But he said he might use it again. He's not sure. He's not real worried about it at the moment. However, we went ahead and ran all of this wiring in the dash and hooked it all up so that you can't see any of it, which is great. So, he can, if he wants to take it out, he can take it out, but if he wants to leave it, he can leave it. If he wants to hide it somewhere in the dash here, you can hide it up in the dash somewhere, but that's not a big deal. We'll give you another shot of these rear hinges that we do in-house here. And you can see that they work very, very nicely. But lots of hours in getting this truck all put back together, getting all the doors to line up, the fenders to line up, getting everything aligned correctly. And you can see we got the back here. It's all nice and clean. But this is where the bushings get a little funky. you can see that the bed is just a little bit lower than the cab. Now, these are torqued down to 60 foot-pounds, no shims. So this is as low as this cab can possibly go. Now, this is a Ford bed. It hasn't been touched, modified, or anything like that. So there is a possibility that over the years the bed has settled or been abused a little bit or stretched out or compressed. So, you may have to end up shimming a bed up a little bit to match your cab if the cab is too high. Now, this is very, very minute. A lot of guys won't even notice this. However, this isn't really that bad. I don't even know if he's going to shim this bed or not. But that's as low as this cab will go. There's no shims in there. That's just the S&B body mounts. So we'll come under here and show you these body mounts a little bit clearer here. You can see that the way that these mounts are completely different from the factory setup. They do not have a nut on the bottom like the factory setup, and they bolt down through, which is like the factory setup. However, they do bolt up really nicely. You can see the shim on the top of the bushing there to get it up a little bit higher. And we'll see if we can get you to see the shim up here. Yeah, so you can see the shim on the top of that bushing as well. And these are the same way. The original setup would have a bolt going up through, and it would thread into this top bushing right here. However, these bolt all the way down through and thread into the bottom of the bushing. This is a different setup than the OEM style. Works for them. It works for me. It's a little bit harder to get the shimming correctly because you can't compress this front bushing down until you torque the whole thing down, so you might have to anticipate any shrinkage due to torquing it down. And like I said, these are all 60 foot-pounds. If you watch previous videos, I fought this bolt, and I'm not putting this bolt back in. And I will not put this bolt back in because it is such a pain to get to, especially with the intercooler pipes in the way. But everything's done under here. The only thing I'm going to suggest to him is to get the rubber flaps that we had discussed in a previous video and try to keep this manifold from getting any worse than it already is. So we'll take a look under the hood here. Now, the billet grill kind of makes this a little difficult, but it's not bad because you can kind of stick your hand in here and get the hood latch. Now, we had discussed this before. We had no issues under here except for the fact that maybe the guy that put the engine in didn't tighten everything. So we found a couple loose radiator hose clamps, and I found some plugs that weren't heat shrunk and some odds and ends. The gasket for the turbo outlet here was non-existent, so always be aware of who's working on your truck to make sure that they are doing a quality job for you. And we got everything all tidied up under here. Firewall's nice and white. Everything's all cleaned up and ran correctly, and we're not going to have any issues with anything melting or rubbing, and no problems with that. We've also, let's see if you can see in here, you can see it back here, we have a new condenser in there, and we did a new liquid line over here, new dryer, evaporator. We covered that in another video as well on this truck before we installed the cab onto the truck here. But under the hood, nothing really changed, just tried to tidy up some stuff, make it a little bit cleaner, make sure that everything was spick and span under here, nice and tight. But no big deal under here. However, that's Gary's truck here. We did a little bit of undercoating on it before we put everything back together, since we had to replace the cab mount and everything. That's what's dripping out over here. But he'll be back another time. He's going to take the truck home and spray the frame down with some paint and try to get it nice and clean and paint it up, because once we spray it, you won't be able to put paint over it without trying to strip it off. And the stuff that we use here fogs really, really well. It gets into a lot of places, it displaces water, and atomizes very, very well. It'll actually stay in the air suspended for up to an hour before it actually settles. So It's a high quality spray. It doesn't get hard like most products that people use nowadays, and is safe for electronics and rubber, which is great. So you don't have any compatibility issues. But we are going to finish this truck up here. It is all done, ready to roll. We're going to go ahead and throw it outside for him because we got another one coming, and hopefully he'll be here to pick it up here any day. And that's Gary's project all done. We got the cab fixed, new door hinges, new fenders, got everything realigned, new bushings, some odds and ends here and there, but all completed. He's going to finish little touch-ups here and there when he gets it home, but that's it. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.